I did so many bad things. It was 2020, you guys. Choices were made. And there's literally about 100 of those choices on my floor. So let's just get it moving. Yep, let's just get it moving. I have organised the avalanche into genre piles and I'm just going to be picking randomly off of the top, so hopefully there will be some things in here for everybody, and probably in the next book haul and possibly in the book haul after that. I feel like we should roll our sleeves up for this part. Ironically, the first book is not actually one that I got for myself. It was a Christmas present from the wonderful Jean at Jean's Bookish Thoughts, and it came without a note, but I opened it and I instantly knew exactly who it was from. This is The Madness of Lord Mackenzie by Jennifer Ashley. It is, of course, a historical romance novel, and it features a Scottish character. So Lord Ian Mackenzie is somewhat infamous in London society. He is Scottish, he is brooding and imposing, and it is also rumoured that he spent his entire childhood in a mental institution, which of course makes him tainted goods. No right-thinking woman would of course be with a man who had been in an asylum, but Beth is beginning to be able to see past the rumours. Ain't even gonna lie, I am so ridiculously excited for this. When I unearthed this next one from the pile, I did actual physical like jumping for joy. This is Chilling Effects by Valerie Valdes, and this is a space opera which is queer and has a diverse cast and also has psychic cats. Yes, you heard me correctly, psychic cats. I'm gonna read you the blurb for this one because it just completely captured me and I don't think I can do it any more justice. The crew of the La Sierra Negra delivers a small cargo for even smaller profits. When her sister is kidnapped, Captain Eva Innocente must undergo a series of dangerous missions to pay the ransom. But Eva may lose her mind before she can raise the money. The ship's hold is full of psychic cats, an amorous emperor wants her dead, and her engineer is giving her a pesky case of feelings. To free her sister, Eva will risk everything: her crew, her ship, and the life she's built on the ashes of her past misdeeds. Just, is that not a blurb that you hear and immediately go, that's a Leanne book that is. Also, now that I've unearthed this, I'm immediately going to go follow Julie Dillon, who is the illustrator who did this cover, because it is absolutely stunning. The next one was sent to me from my wish list by Roxanne. Thank you so much for that, Roxanne. Honestly guys, whenever you send me anything from my wish list, it's not just the sweetest surprise to open in the post, but it's also just, it's so incredibly nice knowing that there are people out there who are thinking of you when you don't know about it, who are sending you good vibes, and honestly it means the world. This is The Million Pieces of Nina Gill by Emma Smith-Barton. So this one is about Nina, who has always tried to be the best daughter that she can be, the most accomplished daughter, the most respectful daughter. But then when her brother randomly goes missing, she feels like her entire world is falling apart and she's the only one that wants to solve the mystery of where he went. The bottom of the blurb for this one says, surrounded by broken friendships, a broken heart and an increasingly broken grip on her sanity, Nina's never felt more hopeless. I do believe that this one has quite a lot of mental health representation in it, so I'm looking very, very forward to that. Next up, I have got a couple of middle grade books. So I have got Ink Spell and I have also got Inkheart by Cornelia Funke. This one was sent to me by the lovely Charlotte from Books and Bargains. Thank you again so very much. These are just the most stunning editions of these books. I'm hoping to do a reading vlog for you guys later in the year where I just read this series through start to finish now that I have all three of them. These books are about Maggie. She reads aloud one day from a forbidden book in, I believe, her grandmother's library called Inkheart. And when she reads aloud from this book, the characters from inside it escape into reality and kidnap someone very close to her. Maggie, who is someone who considers herself not to be a heroine, then finds herself right in the middle of a story of her own making and has to learn to use the magic surrounding her and the magic of the book to get everybody back inside. Next up, I have got the most recent release from my cheesy thriller, true love, Ruth Ware. This is one by one. Whenever anybody tells me that they just want a page-turning thriller that they can read through in one sitting and then not have to think about too deeply, I always recommend Ruth Ware. She's like thriller candy floss for the brain. You don't have to work very hard in her books, but they are always a wild ride. I'm actually behind on my Ruth Ware reading. I have got 2 books now that I haven't read from her, and this will be a 3rd, so maybe that's another reading vlog for later in the year. This is about a group who run a new up-and-coming music app called Snoop. They have gone to the French Alps, I believe, to stay in a chalet and to work through a massive dot-com buyout which could potentially make them all millionaires. But of course, when the offers are on the table, tensions start to get a little bit frayed. And then as the group splits and everybody goes into their individual corners, an avalanche hits the chalet. One of the group has to then go outside for help, and somebody else goes missing in the snow. And then there might be some red snow. You know, like snow that's got blood in it, like you get yellow snow and... Okay, I'll stop. Next I've got a book that I got for my Christmas from lovely wife Helen, and she picked an absolute corker. This is Erotic Stories for Punjabi Widows by Balli, Kaur, Jaswal, and again, it is a beautiful book. This one is about Nikki. She has been trying to escape from her very traditional Punjabi community for her entire life, like her entire life. She wants nothing to do with the traditions that she feels like completely pin her down. But when her life starts to get a bit out of control, she ends up taking a job at the local community centre, where she ends up teaching a bunch of the elderly women from her community. But when Nikki starts teaching these classes, she discovers that most of the women in her class are in fact widows from her community, and unconstrained from the men in their lives, they have decided to talk about all of the things that are important to them. And these things don't just range from bringing up children and being a woman in this difficult community, they also touch on sexuality and some really dark untold stories from the community that Nikki did not know went on. But then, as with all good books that I pick up, a body turns up and Nikki has to face some really harsh truths about her community. Next up, I've actually got a 2021 release, but the pre-order for this was placed in 2020. I have let myself away with a handful of small pre-orders during my book buying ban because I know myself, and I know that if some of the sequels to the bigger series and things that I am very invested in come out and I don't pick up the book, I'm going to be miserable. And a handful of these are from authors that I want to support, and this is one of those cases. This is Memorial by Bryan Washington, and it is about Mike and Ben, who have been together for several years. They have loved being together, but they're now stuck in a rut. They basically just live in the same apartment like roommates who make dinner for each other and happen to sleep in the same bed, and neither of them know how to get out of this weird cycle that they've found themselves in. Then one day Mike finds out that his father, who he's completely estranged from, is dying, and that he has a very small window of opportunity to go and make his peace with him. So he takes off to go to Osaka, where his father is in hospital, and just as he leaves, his mother, and the blurb describes her as his acerbic Japanese mother, Mitsuko, turns up unannounced for a visit and is left at home with Ben. But the end of the blurb says that this absurd domestic situation ends up meaning more to each of them than they ever could have predicted. I am so very there for this. Yay for more queer stories in my house. Next up, I have 2 books that I'm going to show you together. The first one I bought myself, and the second one was sent to me from my wish list from the absolutely wonderful Maddie, who is just a complete ray of sunshine. You can probably see the top of this book poking into frame already because it is genuinely one of the largest books that I have ever purchased. This is The Lost Words by Robert MacFarlane and Jackie Morris. So Jackie Morris is the artist who did these covers for the Robin Hobb Elderlings series, which of course you know is very, very close to my heart. Those books are stunning. They take up an entire shelf on my fantasy bookcase over here, and it just makes me happy to look at them all the time. Jackie Morris's art is absolutely stunning, and so when I heard about this book I had to have it. This is actually a poetry and an illustration collection in one. So the premise of this book and the poems that are written by Robert MacFarlane is that once upon a time words started disappearing from our language. Ways to describe the world around us started to just vanish. And in here, each of the poems are titled with the word that has gone missing. In this case, it is acorn, which is the stunning illustration that Jackie Morris has done on the other side. And each of the poems is set up with the letter of the word as the first letter in the line. And I cannot get over how stunning this book is. All of Jackie Morris's art has a lot of really earthy tones. All of her subjects are really earthy. She uses a lot of gold in her art, which has come through really, really well in these pages. Sometimes gold doesn't show up as well when it is not done with foiling, and it's just, oh. So Maddie sent me the next one, which is the Lost Spells. Again, it is a book of poems with Jackie's illustrations, but this one says, "This is a book of spells to be spoken aloud. Here you will find conjurings and charms, spells that protect and spells that protest, tongue twisters, blessings, lullabies and psalms," and they are all of course about the natural world around us. The sheer amount of production in this book is just out of this world. These are the end papers, but look at the naked hardback. It has embossed butterfly wings on it. Are you seeing this? And there are even more full page spreads in here amongst the poems, which look like this. This is definitely one of those books that I wish I could just have open on display, but display all of the pages all at once. The next book that I got here I also got for Christmas from the lovely Simone, and it is Small Island by Andrea Levy. This one is set in 1948 in England and it follows three separate characters. The first of those being Queenie. She is a woman whose husband has disappeared during the war and she finds herself in pretty dire straits. So she decides that she's going to rent out one of the rooms in her house to try and make ends meet to lodgers. But her entire street is very, very angry about this because the people that she decides to rent the room to are Jamaican. Enter Gilbert Joseph, who, like many other Jamaican men during World War II, joined the RAF to try and help the war effort. He has now come to England and he has not found it as welcoming as he was promised that it would be. Gilbert is absolutely desperate when he rocks up on Queenie's doorstep because his wife Hortense is still in Jamaica and he wants to bring her to live with him and desperately needs a room to do so. But when Hortense moves into Queenie's house, fireworks begin to fly. I cannot wait to read this one. It is definitely near the top of my TBR. Next up from the lovely team at Book Break, I have got Brown Baby by Nikesh Shukla. This is Nikesh Shukla's memoir. It comes out in February. I could not be more excited. The guys at Book Break went above and beyond to get me a proof of this when they ran out because I was so excited for it. You might recognise Nikesh from The Good Immigrant, which was a collection of essays that he curated and edited, and it is absolutely amazing. It completely blew my socks off. And this is his memoir of becoming a new father and thinking about all of the things that he wants to pass on to his child. I love the way that this one is split up. The contents is essentially lists of things that he wants to talk to his baby about. So we have how to talk about your skin colour, how to talk about being a girl, how to talk to you about my mum, how to talk to you about the end of the world, how to talk to you about your heritage. But I have got to say, as I do with every book, I read the first few pages of this when it came in the post and it is hilarious. It's not that it's not hard hitting, it absolutely is hard hitting, but it is so funny. Nikesh Shukla has just got such a particular tone to his writing, and I'm just so glad that I managed to get my hands on this. Thank you very much, Book Break. Next one that I've got here is a YA contemporary, and I have got to say, I think out of all of these stunning books that I've showed you so far today, this cover has my heart. These are all open books and the words are actually written on these open books, and it's so pretty. This is Words in Deep Blue by Cath Crowley. It is an Australian YA contemporary, which makes me even more happy. You guys know how obsessed I am with Australian literature. I just Love the tone of it. It's doing some amazing things and it's not getting talked about enough. This one is about Rachel. Years ago she had a crush on a boy named Henry. She poured all of her feelings into a letter and she tucked that letter away into a book in his family's bookshop. But after she moved away, which was not a choice that she made, she never heard from Henry again. And now it feels like she never wants to talk to him again. Unfortunately, Rachel might not have a choice because circumstances have brought her back to the city. Her brother has drowned in a horrible accident and she feels like she can't feel anything anymore. And the only job that she can get when she comes back to the city is in Henry's parents' bookshop. The tagline on this one says, "Sometimes love and second chances are not impossible." And I'm very, very hoping that that's true. Next up, we have got a couple of absolutely beautiful Terry Pratchett books. The first one was sent to me by the wonderful Amy. She has a bookstagram, which I will link below. Amy is amazing and her friendship got me through some really, really tough spots in 2020. As part of my Christmas present, she sent this one to me. This is seriously funny, The Endlessly Quotable Terry Pratchett, and it is an adorable little book filled with some of the most iconic quotes and some of the most obscure and overlooked quotes from Terry Pratchett's novels, and I absolutely love it. It just is so cute. And lovely wife Helen and I had so much fun flipping through this on Christmas Day and remembering a lot of laugh out loud moments about Terry Pratchett, which is one of our favourite series that we share together, so it was just really lovely. And next up is the illustrated edition of Guards, which is of course the first of the Watch novels in Terry Pratchett's Discworld series. This is one of the places that I always recommend that people start with Terry Pratchett. It's definitely the best place to start if you like thrillers, mysteries and crime novels, because it is essentially about the police force on the Discworld. This one has full page coloured prints in it, some of which made me absolutely melt for obvious reasons. But the other special thing is that the actual book pages for this one, where there are notes and extracts and scribbled things and inscriptions, they've all been replicated in the print for us, and that makes me super, super pleased. I'm gonna be honest, I don't love the cover for this one, and I also don't like the fact that it's so silky, because it's absolutely going to get scratched when I read it. There's no way that this book will not be scratched the minute that you put it on any surface which is not perfectly clean. There is actually a slipcase edition of this, and I feel very much like this was meant to be kept in a slipcase. It's meant to be like read and then put back in to be protected. But I didn't want yet another slipcase edition on my bookshelves that doesn't fit into the main shelves. I feel like they missed a bit of a trick there. They could have done a really gorgeous like naked hardback for it, but nevertheless the contents is still amazing. The next one that I've got was sent to me from Europa for review, and it is Interior Chinatown by Charles Yu. I had actually never heard of this book before, although I love Europa and I love their editions. They always have these beautiful French flaps that just make them feel, I don't know, just a little bit more special. But this one, this is like nothing I have ever picked up before. So I'm just going to read you the tiny blurb because I think it explains it better than I can, and then I'm going to show you the format of the book. So it says, Willis Wu mostly gets to play generic Asian man. If he is lucky, sometimes he gets to be background oriental making a weird face, or even disgraced son. Every day, Wu leaves the single room in Chinatown where he lives and makes his way to the Golden Palace restaurant, the set of a cop show that is in perpetual production. For now, he is a bit player. His dream, that one day he will be offered the most coveted role someone who looks like him might aspire to. Kung Fu guy. So then, the entire book is set out as if it is a TV script, so everything that Willis is actually doing, we follow here like a TV script. Every scene that he walks into, there's a cast of characters. There are stage notes like sexy whisper as asides and things, and I just think that's genius. I think that's amazing and I cannot wait to read it. Next up, I have two books that were sent to me by my lovely friend Tasman from Tea Books in Tasman, who's just a joy to behold. We did a little book swap at the tail end of the year before Christmas, and it went just so awry. My books have only just turned up because of the delay in the Christmas post, and Tasman's books were sent to me so I have had to repackage them and now send them off to her, although I did include some bookmarks from my store in there, so like hopefully it'll be an extra happy surprise when she opens it up. So the first one that I have got is On Connection by K. Tempest. This is kind of a long form essay in which Kay looks at the idea of human connection. I love Kay's poetry collections, love them so very much. I have read all of them and I have reread some of them on multiple occasions. Unfortunately, I didn't get on very well with Kay's first novel, and so when I saw that they had an essay collection sort of long form thing out, I immediately wanted it. All of Kay's work looks at the way that we in a modern world connect with each other and find humanity in those connections despite the fact that they are so random and they are so spread out. And this one looks at creativity and connection, so how the things that we put out into the world bring people who are important back to us. And then the second one that Tasman got me was My Name Is Why by Lem Sissay. This is a memoir about the author's very strange childhood at the hands of the UK government. The blurb on the back says, how does a government steal a child and then imprison him? How does it keep it a secret? This is how. So Lem Sissay was a young child when he was adopted into a family, and then subsequently he spent many years in British care homes. And at the age of 17 he was given his birth certificate, and he discovered that his name was not Norman, which was the name that his adopted parents had given them, that it was instead Lem Sissay. He discovered that he was not just British, but British and Ethiopian, and that his birth mother was alive and well and had been pleading to get him back since she came to Britain. This is a tiny memoir, and I suspect it's going to absolutely destroy me, but it is such an important story because this happened to generations of black children in the UK. Okay, I've picked 3 more off of the stack, and I'm going to call that, well, not good, because it's not good. It's not good. But it's a dent. We've made a dent. This next one is one that as soon as I saw it, I knew that I had to have it. Look at the cover for it. This is The Boy in the Red Dress by Kristen Lambert. It is a murder mystery, kind of in the vein of Agatha Christie. So Millie is running the show at the Cloak and Dagger, which is her aunt's club. It is a swinging speakeasy in the French Quarter, and she is expecting the night to go amazingly. There are a lot of very wealthy people in, and of course they have their star attraction, who is Marion, the boy in the red dress. His fans are obsessed with him and they come from all over to see him perform. But on this particular night, a young woman turns up with a photograph of Marion and starts asking questions. But before Millie can really find out whether she's just an obsessive fan or somebody more involved in Marion's past life, that young woman winds up dead. All signs point to Marion trying to cover up his past, but Millie knows that he couldn't possibly have done it, and so she is forced to embark on an investigation of her own. I am just, all the things in this book are things that I want to read, all of them, and just this cover has convinced me that it needs to just, I don't know, just be fronted out on my bookshelves forever. Next up, I have a small novel that calls itself Hypnotically Disturbing, and I am very there for that vibe in 2021. This one was sent to me from Fiona from my wish list. Thank you so very much, Fiona. And it is Bay Shaw's Untold Night and Day. This is another beautiful cover. Honestly, am I ever going to stop saying that? Probably not. This one is a book told over one night and one day, and it is about Kim Ayami, who is a woman who has worked for many years in Seoul's only audio theatre for the blind, and unfortunately the production that she is working on has now closed down and it looks like she is out of a job. That night she goes wandering over Seoul, pretty lost and directionless, and then something happens to her while she's out on the streets. The next day, someone asks her if she could act as a tour to walk those very streets that she did the night before, but this time she's taking a friend who is a detective novelist along with her. It sounds very, very confusing, and it also promises to take us beyond the world in which we can see and feel, and I don't know what that means, but I want to go there. And then last but not least, I have picked up one that I spotted on Emma's channel, and Emma, I believe, was recommended it from another friend, so we're in a recommendation chain at this point. This is Murder Trending by Gretchen McNeil. It is a YA sort of murder mystery dystopia book, and I am there for the hashtag cheese. This is about Dee Guerrera. She wakes up one day in a complete haze, not knowing where she is or how she gets there, only to discover that she has been dropped onto the island, which is a filming site for hashtag murder trending. In this dystopian future, criminals who are getting a taste of their own medicine are being dumped in this place, and they are being filmed for the Postman app, which is essentially a place where you can watch these people be tortured. It's like a reality TV show, everybody's very into it. I can see this happening in our world. I don't have to stretch my imagination that much. But the problem is that Dee knows that she didn't do the thing that she's been dropped on the island for, and she is very, very determined that she is not going to die. This sounds great, and I also think that there's a prequel or a sequel for after it if I really, really love this one, and you know, if my book buying ban ever ends. And I've just spotted while holding it here, because it's one of those like floppy books, which is very satisfying, but it's also a velvety book, which is very unsatisfying because fingerprints, but that this emoji is under the cover. Oh my god, I'm so looking forward to reading this. So that's it. We made a big gen in the even bigger pile of books that are here. I have absolutely no idea how many we got through, but it was not enough. So I will be back incredibly soon with another book haul, despite the fact I have not bought any books so far this year, which has been painful. It's been very painful. Are any of you guys on a book buying ban? Please tell me if you are, because I'm struggling. As always, if you have read any of the books from this list, please tell me about them down below, even if you didn't like them, because we like opinions here. And if you would like to recommend me any books to put on my endless wish list that I will probably smash hard after my book buying ban ends, then please let me know that too, because I would like an excuse to be able to buy lots of books. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing and turning on the little bell icon so you can be notified when my face appears in your feed. And I will speak to you all very soon, guys. Bye!